What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversation. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only program in the world online for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I also am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. And I always like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live here on July 27th. So we're happy to have you, whether you're watching live, watching the replay live, or listening to the replay live. Let's make it happen. So a little background about today's conversation. In Canada, National Emancipation Day is coming up on August 21st, 2021, this year, as Dr. Lynn Jones, an African Nova Scotia leader, educator, and community activist, and trade unionist, blows the whistle to start the 2021 virtual underground freedom train ride at 10:54 p.m. on July 31st. All of you are welcome to join the Toronto Freedom Trade Ride as we recognize the challenges and opportunities provided by Canada's proclaimed Emancipation Day. The ride will be an incredible journey and experience about the Underground Railroad, the route enslaved Africans used to escape American slave plantations seeking freedom in Canada, and ultimately Emancipation Day on August 1st. The theme for this year's event is the fire within, as they focus on the element of fire and its power to rekindle, transform, and inspire. The train ride will be featured National Declaration of Emancipation Day by Senator Wanda Bernard, one of the train ride's previous conductors, and an advocate for Canada's national recognition of Emancipation Day. Also featured this year will be performances by Randall Ajay, the first Poet Laureate of Ontario, award-winning composer Andrew Craig, musicians Eddie Martinez, Armani Woods, Phoenix, the Freedom Fire Train Choir, and various pulsating voices from around the country and across the seas. Also attending will be Toronto's Mayor John Tory and also the Chief Diversity and Cultural Officer for the Toronto Transit Commission, Keisha Campbell. Everyone is welcome to join the Freedom Train Ride virtually, and I'll be showing the YouTube address during this conversation. But we are blessed and highly favored to have this man. I'm humbled to be able to have him slow down for a moment. Louis Marsh, man, a mentor of mine, a mentor for many other people. And whenever I call Louis, I always say, Dr. Marsh, and he goes, Dr. Vibe, you got to stop calling me that. And I say, I'm already claiming it, that one day it will be Dr. Marsh. Louis does so many things that I'll let him share with you. So let's welcome, he hasn't been on for a while. The last time he was on, he was with L. Jones and some other people, but we have him today. Louis Marsh, how are you?
Live and direct.
Beautiful.
Feeling good, feeling excited, feeling inspired. And it's a busy time of the year for us because of the Emancipation Day Declaration, but also because of the Freedom Train and the fact that it's an opportunity to highlight, showcase, recognize, celebrate what is going on. What does Emancipation Day really mean? And how does the Freedom Train ride intersect with it? And, start asking and interrogating the purpose of Emancipation Day and what was his intent and where are we today. So for me, there's so many stories to be told. And for me, it's exciting because there's so much interest. So happy to be on the show with you today and happy to have been on the show before dealing with other community topics, but also happy to be here with your audience.
Thank you. We are happy to have you. We are really happy to have you. And I jokingly say that, we got to slow him down, but it's a reason you have to slow him down because he has purpose and intent for Black Canadians. And I think Blacks all around the world, not just in Black Canada, global. Louis is on a global mission to help Black people. So Louis, let's talk about the background behind Emancipation Day first. Why is it of significance, in your opinion, to Black Canadians?
That's a big question, because sometimes we get carried away with just the front page of the book. Emancipation Day declared 1834, August the 1st, the abolition of slavery, plantation slavery, was big because no longer the plantation owners have the right and the control of enslaved Africans. They were freed. That was 1834. So the importance of it now is, did it really happen? Did it really happen? Were enslaved Africans really freed? And to what extent did August the 1st, 1834, create a pathway for freedom? It was proclaimed by the British government, accepted in its territories, which is America and Canada, and around the world. So it's significant in that it put a stop to legalize plantation slavery. That's what the importance of it was. How did we get there, and where have we come from there? Those are the bigger questions that need to be discussed. So it gives us an opportunity to open the book and look beyond the front page only, because there's many more stories to be told about Emancipation Day.
A very good friend of yours, Mr. Danny Stone, is watching also. So
yes,
I
I'm
know.
glad to have him on board.
Absolutely. One of the things, Louis, that a lot of people outside of Canada don't realize is that we have a history of slavery in Canada.
Yeah.
Could you address that?
This is important because it's not really documented in the history books. It's not. We had one student. I was a board director with the African Canadian Heritage Association, which has been teaching African and Caribbean history to children in our community since 1969. That's 52 years. Wow. And that program started when kids were coming home from school, bawling their eyes out. They didn't want to go back to school because every depiction of Africa or Black people was in a negative sense. It was negative. They didn't want to go back to school. In fact, these children are coming home and putting talcum powder on their skin, saying that they wanted to be white. They were walking around the house with like white towels on their head, saying that they needed white hair. They were putting clothespins on their nose, saying that they wanted pointed noses. They didn't want flat noses. Yeah. So one of the students in that program, she came to us and she said she was in class, and it was through Black History Month. And one of the history teachers was talking about the significance of it. The significance of it. And she said, oh, that was in America. We didn't have slavery in Canada. So the student, who was 11 years old at the time, puts up her hand and says, Miss Teacher, there was. And the students in the class are looking at her because they know she knows what she's talking about. But when the teacher said, no, she came back to the program and she asked us for evidence that she could take back to the class and share with the teacher of slavery in Canada. She became the residential expert in the school on slavery, Black history, African history, because she had the facts to show that there was. But the teacher today is still not convinced that it existed. But evidence is out there. We have premiers, we have big business people that had slaves in their households doing slave work. Simcoe Day, yeah, he also had slaves, a governor. Like the history is out there, but nobody wanted to tell that story. Nobody wanted to hear that story, but that story needs to be told. So yeah, we did have slavery here. The estimate is over 3,000, sometimes 6,000, that were treated the same way slaves were treated in America.
Wow.
So Emancipation Day is important because it also brought an end to legalized slavery, not only in Europe, but mostly in America, in Canada, Brazil, and around the world. So it did exist.
What did it take for Emancipation Day to become a national holiday in this country? I know the story, you know the story, but a lot of people, not only internationally, but especially in this country, many of them that look like us are not aware about the struggle it took for this to become a national day.
Yeah. I'm going to take a step back.
Sure.
Abolition of slavery didn't happen because of any benevolence by the British. They were forced to, because at that time in history, there was massive plantation revolts taking place. We had just come out of Haiti with the Haiti Revolution. There were revolts on a lot of the plantations in America. Sugar cane, the need for that sugar cane. There was competition now with beet sugar. It was becoming too costly to run the plantations. And there was a movement in America and also in England that people saying, this is inhuman. We're Christians. This is not what we're about. So you bring all those forces together, and they had to abolish it because it showcased and highlighted not only the inhumanity that was taking place, but it also showed that this Christianity that they were proclaiming as their staple, as their anchor in their lives, in their history, was only being applied to certain people and not to others. So there was a massive revolt, not only on the plantations, but the social conscience in Europe and America to bring an end to it. So it wasn't done out of any benevolence. It was done because they were forced to. It took us many years. People like Rosemary Sadler from the Ontario Black History Society, Jean Augustine, Senator Wanda Bernard, to advocate with the government at the municipal level, at the provincial level, and at the national level. And it wasn't until March this year that the Canadian government finally decided to declare it a National Emancipation Day. So this didn't happen again through benevolence. It happened because there was advocacy for them to acknowledge and recognize it and declare it. So this was from 1834. Now we're in 21. That's many years, a century plus, before they actually declared it a national day here in Canada. So Emancipation Day, even though it was declared, in law, was not in reality in action. So yeah, so we give credit to these people that forced the government to do the right thing, and now we have an opportunity to recognize and interrogate truly what Emancipation Day is about.
Thanks for that answer. And I remember speaking to Rosemary Sadler the day of that vote.
Yes.
And she was walking, she said, and she was on pins and needles because she was listening to every person's vote. Yes, yes. And she was like, and it almost, when it got approved, she was a little bit in shock. She didn't really think it was going to happen.
In fact, it was a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
It was on March the 24th, 2021. It was a unanimous vote. How could you say no to it? This is history. It's not only the history of Black people, but it's the history of Canada.
Why do you feel it took so long?
because there were people that were still benefiting from slavery. Whether they were governors, whether they were business people, whether they were politicians, they didn't want to let go. It was not important in their scheme of things. But the writing was on the wall. You had to do it. And that's why there was unanimous vote. But it had to be the result of advocacy at these different levels over an extended period of time. So now we are, August the 1st, 2021. It's now a national day, Emancipation Day, declared by the federal government, previously by the province, and previously by the city. So now we have to look at, now that this has been declared through legislation, how do we move forward? How do we move forward?
Good question. I will parking lot that till we get near the end of our conversation. Let me ask, how can you share with our audience the history of the Freedom Train? How did it come about? How did you get involved?
My work with the African Canadian Heritage Association was significant because over an extended period of time, I was the communications director. So anything that was relevant to our community in terms of history, activities, events, I used to promote them. And I was able to establish a network of people across the city who were interested in this type of work. I've also worked with Ita Sadu from a different book list on many events up to that day when she made the phone call. She said, "Louis, have a seat. I've got something to tell you." She said that she wanted to organize the underground freedom train ride. We said, okay, there's no problem with that. Let's do it. But she said, "Louis, we want to take over a TTC train to do it." I said, "Pardon me?" She said she wanted to do it on the train. I said, "TTC train? Will they allow us? Will they give us a train to do this?" And we were discussing it, and we said, "Look, this is an excellent idea. If TTC refuses to give us a train, we're going to commandeer the train anyway. So either you work with us and we do it in an organized fashion, or we're going to parachute 1,000 people onto the platform at our time, and we're just going to take over the train anyway. We're going to pay our ticket so you can't stop us." So she said but then we said, it is possible and it's going to happen. So we brought some key people together and we put the cards on the table and said, this is what we want to do. Emancipation Day is significant. There was Caravana that used to talk to this. We want to take it a step further. The Underground Freedom Train Ride was officially launched. And we put in place a plan where we would not have to take over the train, but work with the Toronto Transit Commission. There was the person responsible for the TTC group from the City Hall, Josh Cole. He bought into it. He was the head of that commission at the TTC. He bought into it.
Nice.
And we sat down. We told him the plan. He agreed. And he has been one of the biggest supporters of that, even though he's no longer at City Council. But he gave us access to the people at TTC that could help make it happen. So yeah, that's how it started. And then when we sat down and we started putting the pieces together, we realized how significant this was going to be. And we were surprised at how it unfolded, but we had a plan and we brought it to life.
Wow. Fantastic. Everyone, you are watching the Dr. Vibe Show with myself, the host, Dr. Vibe, here with Louis March, talking about the coming up, the Emancipation Day Underground Freedom Train ride that is happening virtually July 31st at 10:45 p.m. Eastern. And I'm just going to put up the information right here where people can watch it. There is the link. They can watch it on YouTube. I'll be putting it up during various times of the conversation. I know Aita a little bit, not as well as you, but when she told you about that idea, what was your first reaction?
You know what? I always have this expression, think big, but make bigger things happen. We have that capacity. We have that ability. Sometimes we're always thinking too small. So when she came up with that idea, I said, wow, let's do this good. Let's do this great. Let's impress people, because it would give us an opportunity to not only discuss Emancipation Day and the importance of it, but also the Underground Railroad and the significance of it as enslaved Africans wanted away from the brutality of slavery in America, coming to Canada for freedom. And it's not that there was like a plane ticket or a train ticket or a bus line for this pathway to Canada. And the Underground Railroad, imaginary in many cases, but real in many cases, was a patchwork of houses, people that wanted to help, under the leadership of Harriet Tubman, who risked her life to create that pathway to Canada for freedom. So when Aita mentioned it, I'm saying, look, this is a win-win situation, not only for we as a community, but also for Canadians that still did not know or understand the importance of Emancipation Day or the Underground Railroad.
Nice. Very nice. So from the time that Aita came up with this idea to the time it became live, what period of time was that? And were you involved right from the get-go?
Yes, I was involved right from the get-go because I wanted to make sure this happened. Because there was distractors, people that didn't think it could happen or it would not happen. But I'm saying, if you're going to think big and make bigger things happen, here was our opportunity to make bigger things happen. Because this was never on the vision board of anybody in this country. So it was brand new, but it had so much potential. So day by day, we started plotting and planning and plotting how we could make this happen. And 9 years later, this is our 9th annual this year. I look back at that first year and I look at the video footage, and it was quite the event. It was quite the event because Toronto had never seen anything like this before. Our community had never seen anything like this before. And not only did we make it happen, we did it on a scale that surprised the heck out of a lot of people. Black people and non-blacks.
I'm just asking you, and you're reading my alleged mind. I was going to ask you, can you go back to that first Freedom Train event? What memories do you have of the first event?
We had drummers, we had dancers, we had a conductor pretending to be Harriet Tubman. We had speakers, we had performers, we had bells and whistles, and we had TTC on board. When we decided to make this official, we did not know if 100 people would show up or 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
We did not know. But we got a phone call on the day. People were starting to gather at Union Station, where the starting point was.
Wow.
At 10:30 a.m.
And what time were you leaving the station?
10:30 p.m.
Okay, so 12 hours ahead of time.
Well, the thing is, they sort of got the instructions wrong. So ITA had to send a delegation down to Union Station, because who in their right mind is organizing an event at 11:30 p.m. right, on a work night? So ITA had to send people down to Union Station in case people didn't read the PM properly.
Right.
And let them know that they have to come back 12 hours later. So it started off that way. When I arrived at Union Station, I think it was about 10 p.m., 10:30, you could hear the drums. You could see the dancers. You could see the people gathering. Hundreds of people were there already, and we weren't scheduled to leave Union Station until 11:45. The people were gathering at 10 o'clock, 10:30. There was an excitement. There was a buzz. There was an electricity in the air. People were dressed in African outfits. People were smiling. People were greeting. And I'm saying to myself, wow, this is a home run. Right? There were officials there, TTC officials, because they didn't know what to expect either.
Yes.
Right? And then we took the mic and we thanked everybody. We did some performances. We presented why we were going to be there and what we were going to do. And there was an instruction that when you get on the train, you would have to be silent.
Oh. Yeah.
Are you going to be telling 800 people to get on a train in unison and be quiet? And we did it. We told them between Union Station and St. George Station, you cannot utter one word. And it's a moment of silence to all the people that we've lost on the plantations across the Atlantic and while they were being captured. And they remained quiet, silent. You could drop a pin on that train and you could have heard it. People bought into this.
When Danny's saying get the numbers right, there were thousands of people.
Danny wasn't counting feet. I'm counting feet. This was 800 people. This was the first year. So that was amazing. And then there was spoken word pieces.
Yeah.
The person that the TTC assigned to drive the train.
Yep.
And he still is the same one doing the train today.
Wonderful.
So we had the mic. We were able to speak to everybody on the train. And there was an electricity. There was a vibrancy. There was a color in the air that we've never seen in the city of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody seemed to have a smile on their face. Just being there. That was the first year. When we got off at Shepherd West subway station, that was another surprise, because all the people got off the train. We had to gather them by a platform and we had to speak to them. Again, hundreds of people on the platform at Shepherd West subway station. And Ita spoke and she said, clap yourself, clap yourself. This is amazing. You have been amazing. We had guest speakers. There was a buzz going on at that station.
Right.
That we've never seen before. That was the first year. Right? And from then on, it's become normal in the city of Toronto on July the 31st to be part of this event. We've also had to keep TTC on board.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something that I shouldn't, but we didn't want to publicize the Freedom Train ride too much because it was high risk in that if too many people came, we couldn't put them on the train. I think the maximum that we can put on the train is maybe 1,200, 1,300, right? The first year was 800, so we figured there would be more moving forward. But not only that, it's to do it in an organized, professional way, but still had the cultural sensitivities that we needed to express, right? So, yeah, that was the first year when we got off. And then finally, we had to get everybody back home because now we're talking about 12:30, 1 p.m. And the last train, you know, when we get together and we're having fun, we like to linger.
Yes.
So we had a problem because a lot of people had parked at Union subway station.
Yeah, and that's at the other end of the city.
And we had to get them back to Union subway station.
Right.
We were concerned about those people that had parked at Shepherd because we had to think of everything. We said, like, we're going to have hundreds of people leaving Shepherd Station. Black people. What are people going to be thinking? Are we taking over the city? Who's going to call police first? And so on.
Yeah.
So we said, look, we had our own security, but Toronto Police Service had never seen anything like this before. So we didn't want anybody coming there and disturbing the show or disturbing the event itself. So we told people, just be careful as you exit at Shepherd West. We're going to get back on the train. We're going to go back to Union Station. And when we got back on the train, the drummers came out again. The dancers came out. And it was just like a big party.
Absolutely.
A big celebration. So that was the first year. And it has grown ever since, as I said, 9 years later.
Thank you for sharing and giving memories of the first one, because I always like when one has success. I like to hear that first, the initial moment of success of that. How has the Freedom Train grown and changed, if it has in any way, in the last 9 years?
It has evolved. When Danny talks about thousands of people, he's correct, right? We've got better at staging it. TTC has adopted it as one of their highlight events of the year. They've given us all the resources and supports on the day. And the thing about it is, I remember one meeting that we had with the TTC executive, because after the first year, a lot of people at the TTC didn't know about what was about to happen. But because of the success, a lot of the department heads, whether it was security, whether it was logistics, whatever it was. So they called a meeting and they were going to bring all the executives to this board meeting, this table, and they invited us to be there. So I and myself showed up. When we showed up in the boardroom, everybody was in a jacket and tie. Everybody had their pads out to write things down. And I and myself show up. And we said, what the heck did we get ourselves into this time? The people were lined up with questions, but we were prepared. You know, there was one question that, you know, like the Freedom Train, if something happens and the train breaks down, it's going to slow down the other trains behind it.
You're kidding me.
No, so somebody said, like, you know, we've got to discuss all possibilities. So Ita's response to them was, well, if that happened, we have 800 people on board. We're just going to come out and push the train along.
There
Right?
you go.
So Ita has this uncanny ability to turn difficult questions with a sense of humor into easy answers. So after we were finished with them at that meeting, everybody was on board. So TTC now embraced it as one of their highlight events of the year. So now they're coming to us, asking us to confirm who's going to be there, what are our plans, and how can they contribute, right? Another way that it has changed, politicians now want to be seen there, right? The media has embraced it because when CP24 showed up, it wasn't your traditional organized event where, here's a section for media and so on, right? They had to maneuver through hundreds of people just to get to whoever they wanted to get to speak to. The media has embraced it. The country has embraced it. So whether they're from Nova Scotia, whether from Montreal, Ottawa, we now have a group in Ottawa setting up their own train ride, right? We were thinking of a route where we started at Windsor and ended up in Nova Scotia.
Oh my.
So one of these days we're going to unleash that plan, right? So there's so much things that we can still do, but it has expanded to the point right now where people are always asking what and where and when. And we keep saying, just mark July the 31st on your calendar. Regardless of what year, that's when it happens. And when the ride is finished, of course, it's August the 1st when we bring in and celebrate Emancipation Day. The pandemic created some challenges because TTC would not release the train. And that was understandable. So we went virtual last year, but it gave us an opportunity to bring in perspectives from England, from Africa, from the States, across Canada, which we could not have done if it was a physical train.
Right.
So for us, the pandemic forced us to reimagine what this train ride would look like and how we could take advantage of these virtual connections. That's what it did for us. So we were able to respond, and it's the second year of the pandemic, and we suspect that next year we'll be back to the physical train.
Hope we're speaking it that's going to happen.
So the thing with the Freedom Train ride, we've been able to respond to the realities of the environment. We brought on different themes, like during the Underground Railroad, people still had their lives to live. People were getting married, people were having babies and stuff. So we brought those themes into each year.
Right.
So we would stage a wedding, we would stage a birth, right? We've been very creative. One thing with Ita is that her imagination is unlimited.
True.
So we just have to leave our inhibitions behind and just be imaginative with her to find out how we make things happen.
She's a true visionary.
A true visionary, but not only a true visionary, but she makes things happen.
Yeah.
Right? And we have a good solid team. We have people from ACHA, African Canadian Heritage Association. We have people from the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, right? We have some creative people that sit down and believe in the freedom train ride.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of coming up with excuses why this can't happen, we find reasons to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it has grown in that sense. And I'm not sure if it's on the tourist booklet for Toronto as an event to attend for those visitors coming in, because it's around the same time as Caravana used to be, the Pan events, right, at Lamport Stadium. So it sort of fits in, but it's at a time that doesn't conflict with much, because
Right.
who's doing something at 11:30 p.m. at night, right? So we've been able to respond to whether it's COVID, the pandemic, the demands for it, the interest in it, and also to broaden the scope of it. So it's not only a Toronto event now, it's not a provincial event, it's not a national event. You mentioned at the beginning, it's a global event now, and we're happy about that.
Did you ever think you'd be saying it's a global event 9 years ago? I know Ita did. I know Ita did, but I'm asking you. I don't have Ita.
No. We were more worried with the Toronto Transit Commission.
Yes.
Toronto. Then when we went to Ottawa, and then Nova Scotia came on, then Windsor, we started talking about Windsor. When the pandemic hit us, we had no choice. We had to go global because it gave us that opportunity. Because we're still trying to stick to the train ride. But then I just started talking about universal. You know, like we're sending rockets to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we should be part of that too. So there was no box that we were working in. In fact, we broke down the box. And anything that came up, we figured, how do we make this happen?
Excellent. Some comments here from Danny saying, yes, we need to do the train ride from Windsor to Nova Scotia for sure. And then Scotians would welcome everyone on the train with open arms.
And Danny is so right. You mentioned the word visionary. Yeah, we need to be visionaries now. And there's no reason why we can't do it, because we've got the train tracks.
Exactly.
And it's just a matter of putting a train on it.
Exactly.
That is going there. So it will happen. And you can imagine what that would look like. Not only for us, but it's Canadian history.
Absolutely.
It's Canadian history. That's the important thing about this. Right? Ita talks about when we lined up on the platform for the train and people are wondering where everybody's going. So the train never stops at any station. It just runs right through.
Correct.
Right? So people would find out where's this train going and they'd jump on board. And there was a white family one year that saw us on the platform and they jumped on the train. And not only did they jump on the train, they couldn't get off because the train didn't stop until it got to Shepherd West.
Right.
But that same family now has showed up every year and brought more people with them.
Wonderful.
Because of the presentation, the event, and the importance of it. Right? So we have to give thanks to all those people, whether it's TTC, whether it's Rosemary, whether it's Jean Augustine, whether it's Senator Bernard. A lot of people have put time and effort to make this happen. We're just the planning committee to make it happen. So when Danny speaks about from Windsor to Nova Scotia,
So Danny's also speaking again. He says it's just a matter of working with Via Rail. It would be great for Via Rail for publicity and experience that I think many people would never forget on that ride from Windsor to Nova Scotia. Yeah, I agree with Danny. I don't think it would be a hard sell for Via.
no, something, and just imagine it. Imagine, I'm not sure what the time frame is on it,
Yeah.
but that has never stopped us from doing what we know is right, not only for our people and our community, but for Canadian national history. The Freedom Train Underground Railroad, the black porters that used to administer on these trains, they're part of Canadian history.
Yeah.
And this gives us an opportunity to highlight them and also educate others about the missing chapters in our history books.
Very true. Over the years, are you seeing more and more younger people show up at this event?
We've made a deliberate attempt to include young people. So they have come out. When you look at the audience, the demographics,
Yeah.
there are young people that are present, participating, performing in a meaningful way. The thing about it, the demographics of those people attending is a wide range in terms of age, in terms of gender, in like everything. Like there's a diversity. If you want to look at what the city of Toronto looks like, come on the Freedom Train ride.
It's a good point.
Come on the Freedom Train ride. Yeah, so young people have come out, and we've made deliberate sections within the train ride where young people have to lead, whether it's through performances, whether it's through spoken word, whether it's helping with security and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have a role, and we're very deliberate about that.
Excellent. Excellent. What are you excited about with this year's event? What are some things that are exciting you about this year's event?
Well, we have a theme, the fire within. At first, initially, we were looking at blazing fire. But then we had the forest fires out in the west. And we wanted to get away from that at this particular time. So then we came up with the fire within. The fire that drives individuals to do things that are unimaginable or very difficult. The fire that drove Harriet Tubman to risk her life and bring hundreds of enslaved Africans to Canada for freedom. The fire that drove people like Nelson Mandela, Marcus Garvey, Nelson, like the fire, what drove these people to do what they had to do despite the odds, the difficulties, and the obstacles? And is it only certain people that are driven by this fire? Or do we all have it? How do we rekindle that fire and continue to move forward? Because Emancipation Day is good in writing, but in reality, have we really been emancipated? And who's going to do the emancipation? Bob Marley makes it clear. None but ourselves will free our minds. Right? So
Absolutely.
the theme is about the fire within. There's millions of people that have fought for freedom. There's millions of people that have fought for liberty. There's millions of people that have paid the ultimate price in death for the thing we call freedom. Is freedom really attained for us as a people? Is it a constant challenge? Is it work in progress? And that fire within, we have to rekindle it to let people know that we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So the fire within excites me this year because we had to do some filming around a bonfire. I shouldn't give out all the details, but
It's okay.
The fire within. We want to rekindle that drive, that inspiration again. That was the focal point for a lot of our great leaders. And we want people to realize that the fire is still burning.
Louis, question for you, just to add on to that point, just to take that point to another level. The events of last year, especially, we don't have to go into depth, but last year was a year for a number of people of heightened awareness of our struggles. Do you feel that the fire has sort of gone out a little bit on people's awareness and acknowledgement and wanting to advance that struggle? Is that part of what the fire within is there, or is just to take the fire to another level?
No, the pandemic has forced us to investigate, interrogate, and question a lot of these relationships that we have with major institutions, and how do we respond. It has exposed a lot of the racism in society. Who was going to get the vaccine first? Who was going to get it last? What about who was going to get infected by the virus? The frontline workers.
Yep.
What did they look like? Who were the ones that were able to adjust and manage without any difficulty, and who are the ones that were going to have the most difficulty? Like today, they made an announcement that there's certain people in certain neighborhoods of the city that still have not got their first vaccine. And you look at those neighborhoods.
Yeah, in Toronto. Yep.
Right? So it has exposed the inequality and the deficits of society. And that's why the fire within. We can't press a pause button. We have to drive. We have to drive this train. And we cannot stop it. So it has exposed a lot of the inequalities, racism, poverty, and so on. But it's also given us an opportunity.
Yes.
It's given us an opportunity to talk about this subject material that you couldn't have spoken about 5 years ago. If you spoke about anti-Black racism 5 years ago, or white privilege, people would look at you as though something's wrong. But now it's become common currency to have these discussions. But the solution to solving these problems, the train ride is about whose hands is it in? Is it in their hands, or is it in our hands? So the fire within for this theme is to rekindle and make sure that we do not lose it, because too many people have fought hard for us to get to this point.
Absolutely.
Are we going to drop the ball now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you would agree with me. We're at a very critical crossroad in Black Canadian history.
Well, a lot more people are interested, but I don't want it to be a one-off.
Well, see, that's what my concern is, right? That's what we as leaders like yourself and Ida, we have to keep the pedal to the metal.
No, no, exactly. You couldn't have said it any better. There's no pause button in our work because we still see the economic, social, cultural gaps. We still see them, right? The history books still have not told the full story.
Absolutely.
And so it's up to us now to grab this initiative, this work, and push it forward. And yeah, freedom is work in progress, but there's no pause button in the fight for freedom.
Yeah.
There cannot be a pause button. We can't take it for granted. In America, after the Emancipation Day was declared, they were going to give all the enslaved people 40 acres and a mule.
Haven't got that either.
No, they clawed that back within a year, right? We still have this school to prison pipeline. People says the jail system is the new plantation.
Yeah.
You go into any of these detention centers or jails and you look at the population. And it's not only black people, it's indigenous people too, right? You know? So 2021 is a new opportunity to work harder and engage many more in the ultimate objective of Emancipation Day. What it was about. It was freedom for all, not only for some.
Absolutely. 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 There is so much more I'd love to get into, but this young man has many, many things on his plate, and I don't like to waste his time. And because, as I say, time never lost a fight.
No, 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 no. You know something, Dr. Vibe? You have mastered this new technology of communication and engagement. You've won several awards for the work that you've done. You've used your platform to discuss difficult topics or topics that people didn't want to hear. You've brought on guest speakers that have brought their expertise, and you've been willing to provide that platform so that people that want to learn can learn, and people that want to be engaged will be engaged. So it's not a matter of wasting time. This is all part of the work itself.
Yeah. And it's not just work. A lot of times it's hard work.
It's hard work, but as I've told a lot of people that work with me, if it gets too easy, get suspicious. The oppressive system has 400, 500 years experience at what they do. They're not going to make it easy. So if I go through a day and everything I planned for happened the way it was planned, I'm wondering, how come?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're expecting pushback. We're expecting obstacles in this work. So this is why this is so important, what we're doing here. Because your audience now will get a different perspective, but they will also see the evidence of us pushing forward.
Push. It's an important word for me. Push. Keep
Exactly.
on pushing. Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Folks, if you want to find out more information about this important event coming up on July 31st, I'm putting the link here. You can go to Everbright. Here's the link here, or just put in Underground Freedom Train in the search engine of Everbright. You can find more information there. You can also go to Twitter at Freedom Train TOR. You can also go to Instagram, Freedom Train TO. Also, if you want, you can contact the gentleman we have on the screen here, louismarch.to on Instagram. So if you can't be there in person, but you can be there virtually. And get ready, because this is going to be a big event. I think next year is going to blow everything out of the water.
So you're raising the bar.
Yes, I definitely. We're raising the bar, not me.
Mm-hmm.
We're raising the bar.
And a good place to go also is go to YouTube and put in Freedom Train Ride Toronto.
Yes, you'll see highlights.
When you look at the people that have shown up, a lot of them have shown up with their phones taking video clips and their
pictures. Yes, documenting.
You've seen there's some amazing video clips.
There's some amazing video clips of some people going, "What is this all about?" Like, those are the ones I like the best. Those are the ones that people are going, "Oh, what's this?"
Just go to Underground Freedom Train Ride Toronto or Freedom Train Ride Toronto, and you will see some of the video clips that people have posted. And I have not done justice to the excitement and the energy and the buzz of that day. Sometimes you just have to feel it. And the video does a better job of showcasing, highlighting that.
Absolutely. And there's a pile of content. You can even see the whole virtual ride from last year too, if you want. So just put in Underground Freedom Train Toronto in the YouTube search engine. There is a number of videos there.
Mm-hmm.
A number, time doesn't permit. I would put part of one up now, but I know time is not permitting, and I know Louis has things to do. So we will say that. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to start doing this practice, is do a little of a reading before we close out here. So this is an excerpt of something called "The Present is All There Is." So it's about 30 seconds, family, so just hold tight. So here we go. We're struggling with a lot of tensions right now. We've been reminded of our mortality, yet we're wasting days just for things to get back to normal. We're confined, yet we're restless. We've never had so much time on our hands, yet we have no idea what to do with it. There's nothing new here. As Marcus Aurelius would say, during wartime or a plague, as the emperor or a pauper, in good health or old age, quote, the present is the same for everyone. Its loss is the same for everyone. So remember, folks, stay present in the present, because that's all there is. So I just wanted to end off with that.
Excellent quote. Excellent quote.
Now, I will say that if you want to catch anything more of Dr. Vibe, these conversations, you can subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and on Facebook. You can also go to my website. I'm going to put it up here. And you can go to my website, thedrvibeshow.com. As always, I like to end off my conversations as this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Hope to see you virtually on the 31st. Hope to see you next year on the 31st. And follow Dr. Vibe. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith. And thanks for watching live on the replay or listening on the replay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you again.